But everyone's welcome. Everyone's needed. If you're not have a church home, we would love for you to be with us. We believe that God has given you gifts, talents, abilities that you can use right here to help us build God's kingdom. Everyone is needed, and we believe. I know it's not really a belief. It's a fact that everyone's changed, because if you spend time with Jesus, you're going to be changed. Am I right? So 9 years ago, we started this church. I can't believe it was 9 years ago, and some people think, wow, is that all? 9 years. I passed a church yesterday. We were driving up to Davidson College yesterday, and I took a little back route somehow. Siri took me a back route, and I passed a Presbyterian church that was 234 years old. I was just amazed by the fact, and it was beautiful. I thought, man, 234 years. I know churches like this, we're 100 years old. I said, man, you guys are just getting started. 234, and we're 9. So it's an amazing thing. We'll talk a little bit about it as we go. If you're going to be with us for the next few weeks, we're going to start a series today called Home. We really want you to make yourself at home. At our church, we're about 3 things. We want to welcome you home. We want you to make yourself at home, find your place in a group, and then we want to send you out and bring other people home. That's kind of what we do here. If there's anything else that you're supposed to do at church, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe there's another church that's smarter than us and you can go figure it out. But that's what we do here. And but we would love you to stay here and help us figure it out as we go. But there are many words that come to my mind when I think of home. How about anybody else live in how many of you grew up in a good home? A good home. I'm not going to ask you for the bad home, because either way, I already know because you didn't raise your hand about the good home. But I grew up in a great home. My mom and dad were there all the time. When I grew up, I went to Ashbrook High School, and we lived in the big city of Ranlow. I was supposed to go to North Gaston, but I transferred to Ashbrook every year because I went to Holbrook, and most of my friends went to Ashbrook, so I went to Ashbrook. I took drafting every year, and I transferred because North Gaston didn't offer that, so I transferred every year and took drafting, and I liked drafting. It was a good course. But I can remember some of my friends who lived in this little neighborhood. They struggle over there. It's a little neighborhood called Heatherlock. They struggle. Pray for those guys. I just don't know how they buy groceries sometimes. But I had some friends that lived over there, and I remember them finding where I lived one time and thinking, man, they've got this big old house, and they found my little old house, and they don't want to be my friend, because I thought, they were my friend because they thought I was something or whatever. Anyway, they came in, and they saw my parents there, and they saw us there, family sitting around eating, and the next day at school, they said, man, my parents are never together. My family never sits down together. They don't talk to each other. We all go to different corners of the house. And he said, that is awesome. And they said, you know what? It is awesome. And that's what I grew up in. We were always together. And one of the words that comes to my mind when I think of home is the word love. It's the word love. Last year we had those love t-shirts. And Josh, thanks for wearing it today. And so today I want to talk to you about love. Is that okay? I want to talk to you about love. I want to talk to you about that word, and that word alone, it stirs up a lot of ideas, it stirs up a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings, and home is the same way, and I think all the emotions and ideas and the feelings I get about home all kind of get summed up in that one word of love. And it's really, I can tell you this, I'd let you guess, what do you think are the 3 most powerful words that anybody could ever say? I love you. I love you. Do you remember the time when you actually said that and meant it to someone? You remember? Anybody? Hopefully it's been really recent for you married people. The presence of those 3 words changed my life and changed the life of a lot of people here. Those 3 words are difference makers. Those 3 words, when those 3 words come out of your mouth, it makes a huge difference. It's a game changer, really. Things change, things go to another level. And the absence of those 3 words can also make the difference in everyone's life. If you don't hear those words, if you haven't heard those words, they can happen. So it changes your ways and changes your life. And I remember the time when I told April that I loved her. I remember the first time I told her I loved her. I remember the general time that I told her I loved her. I can't tell you the exact moment of the day. I do remember when I saw her the first time I saw her. It was a game changer for me. It was like knocked me off my feet kind of a deal. It was a game changer. When I met April, it was love at first sight. I was 15 years old. I was at this thing called Church of God camp meeting. And you've heard this story, and I tell this story a lot, and Donnie told me he loves to hear this story. I could keep telling it, so I'm going to tell it again. And so, and I had left with a buddy of mine named Barry. All I know is it's Barry from Burlington. That's all I know about him. He had a Toyota Celica hatchback with the louvers on the back of it, kind of give you, and it was like an electric blue color, mag rims, silver chrome mag rims, and we had left there because church was boring. We had left there, snuck out, and went to the PTL facilities. Anybody remember that facility over there in South Carolina? They had fireworks going on, and we were going over there just to check out and see if we could find some girls. God had led us that way, and we had left, and we were riding around, and we were looking, and I was like, well, I don't see nobody. Nothing really. So we went back to the church in Charlotte, and they had this thing. It was called a youth afterglow. I'm not sure what the glow is, but I know it was after church, and I'm not sure about a glowing or anything, but that's what they called it. And so I was walking by, and there was this blonde sitting on the curb, and she said, Chad. I was like, yes. And she said, are you going to be going to Bible school this year? And they had a Bible school thing, and I said, yes. And in my mind, I never even anticipated going to Bible school. I'd went the year before, and for me, it was useless. What it was a 3-week summer course where you could go and live on campus at East Coast Bible College and take classes and get college credit. I did it for 3 weeks. I got no credit. I mean, I did meet a girl, and that didn't last, that lasted less than the BMI, the Bible school lasted. But I thought, well, it was kind of useless for me. It cost my parents money, so I said, yes, I'm going. I told this blonde, and so I went home, and I said, hey, Mom, can I go to Bible school? She said, well, we can't afford that this summer. It's a little tight. And I said, well, so I worked out a deal with somebody so I could clean the cafeteria every day after lunch and every day after supper, and I'd mop the floors there in the cafeteria, and they would pay for my way to go to Bible school. And so as soon as I got there, I went on this search looking for this blonde. April was her name. And I was like, man, I got to find her. It was 3 weeks long, Monday through Saturday. It was 3 weeks solid. So I was there, and I was searching for her, and I saw her, but I was too shy. I was really shy. I wouldn't talk to her. And so I began to talk to her, and the first conversation I had with her, I told her I was going to marry her. The very first conversation, I didn't even, I love you had not even come out. It was just like, what had happened was, I was standing beside this plaque, and her grandfather's name was on it, and my uncle's name was on it, Collins and Stevens. I said, one day we're going to get those names together. That's the way I said it. I didn't say the M word, but I said, one day we're going to get she's like, okay, you're kind of freaky, but whatever. All right. But, I was very shy, but I mean, when I told her I loved her, I meant those words. I meant that I loved her, and I meant that I would marry her. And there's nothing worse than saying, I love you, and hearing the words, thank you, afterwards. I love you. Well, thanks. I love you. Well, I like you a lot too, man. Or I love you, and I heard this yesterday. I heard somebody say, I love you, and I said, okay. That's not the response we're looking for, right? Hundreds of movies and countless TV episodes revolve around the word love. You've seen them. How many of you got a favorite love story? You watch it. You've watched it. How many women here have seen The Notebook at least 10 times? I mean, okay. I've seen it once, and that was plenty enough. Okay. Book after book have been written on the subject. I was thinking about this when I wrote that. And remember a few years ago, I did a series called Shades of Grey. Anybody was here for that one? I remember telling somebody at Lowell Elementary, and all these teachers were like, I'm coming for that, because that was when 50 Shades of Grey hit the stores. And so, but anyway, thousands of songs have been written about the word love and I love you. On 3, I want you to tell me your favorite love song. You got it in your head? Everybody, on 3, tell me your favorite love song. 1, think about it now. 2, who is it going to be? 3. Y'all didn't listen to me. On 3, tell me your favorite love song. 1, 2, 3. I didn't hear a lot of bass in that tone. That was all girls. Guys, come on. Get with me. On 3, your favorite love song. 1, 2, 3. I heard a couple guys there. Okay. How about I give you my top 3, all right? I'll give you my top 3. No particular order, maybe. Number 3. Open Arms, Journey. Come on now. This dance ain't for everybody. This is for couples only. That's a skating rink song. Couples only. One guy, one girl, holding hands, skating together. Couples only. Bryan Adams, Heaven. Woo! I got chills on that. Has nothing to do with Jesus and making and getting saved. It's just, when I'm with her, I'm in heaven. Hold On to the Nights by Richard Marx. If you don't know that one, you wasn't born in the 80s. That's me and April's jam, ain't it, April? That's our jam right there. I went off to the military. I joined basic training. I joined the Army as a basic training, and she would say, I love you, April, spray red door on it, and then put hold on to the nights. And I'm holding, baby. I'm holding on. This drill sergeant ain't got nothing on that. I can do it. I can make it. But the one I quote the most, I didn't put it in my top 3, but there's one I quote the most, and it's called I'm Lost in Love by New Edition. I'm lost in love. I can't live without you. I'm lost in love. All my dreams about you. I'm lost in love. Yes, it's true. I can't live without you. Oh, no. Because I'm lost in love. Okay, we'll move on. New Edition, if you don't know who that is. Come on. Mr. Telephone Man. Yep. There's something wrong with my line. When I dial my baby's number, I get a every time. Okay, there we go. Right. 3 of you just aged yourself. Okay, hi. So let me talk to you about love. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is the love chapter. If I do a wedding, if I do your wedding, pretty much that's the scripture I'm going to pitch to you. If we're going to go, if you got a scripture, no, here, this is what we're going to read. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's the love chapter. It defines love. It actually defines something called unstoppable love. It's God's word to us to what it truly means to love in an unstoppable kind of love way. So if you got your Bibles, if you don't, I brought mine. And I got it on the screen. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 8. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. This would be a good time for the drummer. And if I have prophetic powers that understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all that I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and love is kind. Love does not envy and love does not boast. It is not arrogant. It's not rude. It does not insist on its own way. Some of you are thinking, this ain't the love I've experienced. It's not irritable. It's not resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things. Love believes all things. Love hopes in all things. Love endures all things. And love never ends. It's an unstoppable love is what he's talking about here. It's the unstoppable love that God gives to us. It's the love of Jesus Christ for humanity. It's the love for Jesus Christ for each and every one of us to be followed as an example by, as Christians in our lives, to live out that kind of love in this world. Not just when you're singing to your sweetheart, but as a love that we're supposed to display out into this world. There are all kinds of love. And people define love in a lot of different ways. Am I right? We talk about love a lot. I mean, I can tell you that I love ice cream, because I do. And it shows sometimes. I mean, I love chips and salsa. I just love them. I called April, where are you at, honey? I'm at the grocery store. Could you pick up some chips and salsa? She said, why? I said, because you love me. And I love chips and salsa. But I love my wife, and I love God, and I love my puppy. I never thought I'd say that, but I did. But you know, we can say love about a lot of things, but in the Bible we read about a type of love called an agape love. Paul writes about this agape love. Agape love is really an unstoppable love that we need in our church and that we need in our world today. We need to show that kind of thing. An agape love is a self-giving love. It gives without demanding anything in return. It gives without expecting a payment. Oh, if I do this, they'll love me. If I say this, they'll love me. If I perform this way, they'll love me. If I can do this and do that. That's not what kind of love we're talking about. An agape love we're talking about. It's unconditional. It's because it's God's love. It comes without conditions. He loves me despite me. He loves you despite you. And aren't we glad about that? I don't know about you, but I'm not very lovable sometimes. Actually, a lot of times. The older I get, the less lovable I am. There's more of me to love, but I am less lovable. Abel will say, you need to just chill out. You need to relax. Roll the window down. Hang your head out the door like the dog or something. Just cool off. Because, I mean, especially in traffic, I will lose it. I'm not very lovable. It's not given in exchange for something in return. It loves when it's rejected. It's an absolute and it's a complete love. It's the love seen in the life and in the death and the resurrection of Jesus. That's the kind of love we're talking about. 1 Corinthians 13 shows us that kind of love, God's love, an agape love, that it's a difference maker. It's not fake and it's not shallow. It's love, it's not lust. It's love, it's not looks, because you can fall in love with a look, but that look ain't going to last that long. And all those been married more than 5 years say amen. The first 5 years was awesome. Then this thing called metabolism went on strike. Somebody told me that me and Dylan were twinning today. I said, oh, if only. Yeah, I could borrow his metabolism. It'd be awesome. Listen, it's a supreme love, and it's a love that's essential for us today. It's a love that's essential for every one of us. As a parent, and as a husband, and as a pastor, I think about God's love often. I think about the love of God often. I don't just want it to sound like a message or a sermon. I want this love that I'm talking about to be applied to my life. I want this love to be exuding from my life, here and out there. I want people to know that I love them with God's love. I want them to be evident. I want this unstoppable love to overflow into the lives of those people around me. I want this kind of love to overflow out of us and into the communities around us, into the cities around us. Where you work, the love of God should be pouring out of you. Where you shop, the love of God should be pouring out of you. Where you go to school, the love of God. Hold up, somebody's getting in a fight. I would love them, but let me get a video right quick. Are you kidding me? I'm so tired of seeing those things. There's a quarter, call someone who cares. Okay. The love of God, it should be rolling out of us, sweating out of us, pouring out of us. The unstoppable love of Jesus should be a crystal clear sound, not just a bunch of noise. Because how many of you would agree that we've got enough noise in this area? You've got enough noise in your life. There's enough noise around you. The love of God should be a crystal clear sound. 1 Corinthians 13:1 says, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I don't have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. I'm just noise. It's our love. If our love's not put into consistent action, if it's just coming out of here and not out of here, and our life's not throwing it out, it's a clanging cymbal. Irritating and agitating. I love you, and I mean it. I don't want to hear it. I just want to see it. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want you to show me what love looks like. I want to know what love is. Yeah, I want you to show me. That's another one. That's a good one right there. Put that one on the list. The world looks at the church and says, hey, we love you. And they might as well just see a monkey with the clanging cymbals, that you went at the fair. They say, we want to see it. I wrote on Facebook this week, I said, the church is blank. We're up over 70 comments. Some of them hurt. Did you read them? Anybody read them? How many of you got hurt by some of them? The church is blind. The church is clueless. The church doesn't, when my man said church is blind, I said, well, I'd hope we're not blind. I hope we're just not focusing on the right things. I hope God fix our eyes on what we need to be seeing. And I agreed on some of them. I liked a lot of them, and I said, I can't like that, but I do agree with that. We've got to see, if we don't love with action, if we don't love with an authentic type of love that gets past the surface level of I told you so, if we just say things but we don't live them, if we talk things and don't walk things, if we just go to church and we just go to the grocery store and we just go and we don't say and we don't work and we don't live it out, it's just more noise. Tammy Hernandez told me she was driving in today and this big Indian truck was driving in. Indian motorcycles. I thought they were delivering me a motorcycle. I thought, 9-year anniversary, I'm getting a motorcycle. Awesome. And he kept driving. And I thought, wow. And Charles said, I'll take one. I said, I'll take two. But he drove. And Tammy Hernandez said she followed him and went by. And then her daughter's like, well, Petra said, where are you going? I said, hold up. And went and asked her and said, hey, we're having church over here. We're having a 9-year anniversary. Won't you stay and enjoy lunch with us? She said, well, I'd love to, but I'm doing it. That's what we're talking about. Love that's just not surface. It's, hey, I love God so much. I'm coming to church, but man, I see somebody else that needs to go. Let me tell them about this. Let me do this. If we don't do that, it's just more noise. The world needs to see and needs to hear a crystal clear sound of love. This community that we're in needs to hear a crystal clear sound of love of Christ. this world, your school, your job, your grocery store, Walmart, God's sake, they need it. They need to hear a crystal clear sound of salvation, of peace, and of the strength of Jesus. An unstoppable love is crystal clear, and it's obvious. And when people encounter Jesus, it's crystal clear, isn't it? When people truly encounter Jesus, it's crystal clear because lives are changed. Lives are transformed. You think about it, it's crystal clear when you see Him and you see what He does in people's lives, and lives are changed. If you read about it in the Bible, you see a woman who's caught in adultery, and it's crystal clear that she's been forgiven. You see this blind Bartimaeus crying out from the curbside. He said, I need help, alms for the poor, help me. And then and it's crystal clear that God comes and heals him with compassion. Your friends and family, they need a crystal clear love. They don't need it muddy. They don't need the waters muddy. They need to know what God's all about. They need to see it. They need to see this unstoppable love of Jesus, and it needs to be crystal clear. Your life as a Christian, if you're here and you follow Christ, needs to display a crystal clear picture of the love of Christ. The unstoppable love of Christ should be a crystal clear sound. And also the unstoppable love of Jesus, guess what? It never fails. Do you believe that? It never fails. It never lets us down. It never fails. God's love, when poured out, changes lives and changes communities all the time. Every time. It's undefeated. It always works. Someone told me, I said, the church is, and they said, undefeated. The church is the hope of the world. The church is the hope of the world. And when done right, the love of Christ is unstoppable, and it never fails. When you just allow the love of God to pour out of you, it never fails. It never fails to come back right. His unstoppable love changes lives and can change communities if poured out. If poured out. I remember when we just first moved here, and I'll talk a little bit about it more, but I remember we got invited to do this thing called the Laurel Freedom Festival, which we're invited again this coming weekend, and I debated about, do we put a booth up or not? And well, that first year we didn't know what to do, so we just put a booth up and we gave out waters. We just gave away stuff. And they would come by and they'd say, well, what do y'all get? What are y'all selling? I said, nothing. Here's a water. Well, who are y'all? We're Epic Church. Well, what are y'all about? We're a new church. We just planted right down here on 85, exit 22 right there. And I had put into these brochures and it said, a fresh way to do church. And the guy said, well, what does that mean? I said, I guess I mean it's not stale. And he said, so are you saying that? I said, well, you said it, I didn't. There are some stale ones out there. So I quickly went home and I said, fresh. I didn't want to talk about other churches. It's an exciting and new way that we're doing, and so we're doing church, whatever. But I remember that week talking to people. That weekend, people would come up to me and I could have easily wowed them with my knowledge of the Bible. Did you know that this says this in the Bible and that says that? But nobody was interested in that, really. They would just come up to you and they would want to talk to you. Well, how are you? What's going on? Oh, that's your wife. Really what I found out then that my wife was very famous in Lowell. Everybody came up to her because she taught at Lowell Elementary at the time and said, hey, Miss Collins. And everybody come right up to her and hug her. And we had this guy coming to our church at that time called Mr. Fred. And Mr. Fred was a legend in Lowell, and everybody come up, hey, Mr. Fred. I said, yeah, he goes to our church. Come to our church. Mr. Fred and Miss Collins are there. Don't worry about the band or me, but we got them to at least, you know. And they would do, and we would talk to them, and I found out, nobody really cared what we knew. They just wanted to know that we cared. I said that last week, and it hit me again this week. Nobody cared what we knew. They just wanted to know that we cared, that we were there in the community. We're giving away waters. We were ticking off the people beside us because they were selling waters. And they'll come, and people found out they were coming getting ours for free and then selling them at their booth. But either way, we were helping their ministry as well. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, bless them. Anyway. But listen, we've got to do that. It never fails. The world needs to see the love of God in action. The world needs to see that Jesus never fails, that He is always there. The unstoppable love is crystal clear. It's a crystal clear sound. It never fails. And then finally, the unstoppable love of Jesus is the quickest way to a person's heart. The love of Jesus is the quickest way to someone's heart. The love of Jesus will penetrate all kinds of stuff. It'll get right to the heart of things. It goes there. Messages, sermons, songs, a lot of times will come up short compared to the love of Jesus that is displayed in service. When you display God's love and his love in a real and a genuine way, because that, guess what? Unstoppable love doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost us anything. Unstoppable love doesn't expect anything in return. It is just what it is. It's unstoppable in its love. We started our church 9 years ago. I brought a couple pictures with me. I don't know how good they show up, but man, that's on a wide lens. We were a lot skinnier. So they stretched it out. We were very skinny then. Because Dylan was little. Jay was not born. But there we were, 5/18/08. We got a picture. I got a picture of Ryan on this thing. He's got long, shaggy hair. You remember that? You remember that face? But there we were. That was our first Sunday, and it looks like Dad coming up the stairwell right there. Go to that second one. This was our first service. I'm standing there. The room was good. I still got that shirt. I ought to wear it. Should have worn it today. It doesn't fit as well, but either way. And then I think go to the next picture. Second picture. That was our little storefront, 322 West Main. Occupancy 67. Basically, this row of chairs right here. This was it. This was it. The rest of y'all forget it. This was it right here. That was our 1-year anniversary. And the thing I like about this picture right here is Derek Tilley is leading worship in a stadium at this moment. I mean, he's in a storefront, for God's sake, but you wouldn't know. He is leading worship in a stadium full of people. That band, this worship, that was when you had all your girls. Had the whole. It was the family. It was a Tilley band. But man, we worshipped in that place. We packed it out. That was our first anniversary. So I see a couple people that, wow, I wonder what happened to them. But anyway, but there's old Chad coming in his jeans and his flip-flops. Who preaches in flip-flops? All right. And then the next one was, this was what this place looked like when we first walked in here. Actually, it was full of machinery, and so we got them to move all the machinery. I think that's Dana D's little boy right there. And back here you can't see him, but David Polson's back there somewhere walking around figuring out how we're going to do this. And there's a wall. We built a wall over there. If you helped us build that wall, raise your hand. 0 carpenters in the bunch, wasn't there, David? We were the clueless, but I was like, God, I hope that's what your kids are in right now. It stood the test of time. They're still there. All right, you can flip it over there. First service here. There we are. Look at that. This wall right here didn't exist. We hung curtains up. You heard me right. We hung curtains to separate us from the guy who was manufacturing curtains over on the side. All black folding chairs, no comfortable seats to be found. A little stage, we were over there on that side. That's where all the food is today. The fire marshal came about 3 weeks later from there and told us we would have to shut the place down, that we were unsafe, unfit. Back there, seeing that back corner back there, that was that little walkway. It was just looked like a chicken coop, honest to God, didn't it? We were so proud of it. Look at them curtains, how we hung them. We was out here that Saturday night till probably midnight hanging curtains, wasn't we? Anybody remember that? And we hung them black curtains over that chicken coop so we didn't want anybody thinking there was chickens back there. Nothing wrong with chickens, but we just didn't know. But that was our first Sunday here. I see some of you there. But we hung the curtain, and 3 weeks later, the fire marshal came and he said, you guys are going to shut down. You're going to need a whole wall separating you from that building over there. And you need double sheetrock on both sides, and you need an entrance over here, and you need chicken coop's got to go down. That's got to be a hallway. And I was like, well, we ain't got no money. He said, well, I don't know what you're going to do. And the owner of the building came in, and he said, well, what are they asking you to do? I said, well, he's asking us to do that and that. And he said, I tell you what, we had a 1-year lease at the time. He said, would you sign a 2nd-year lease? I said, sure. Why? He said, if you'll sign a 2nd-year lease, I'll do all the work for you. About $50,000 worth of work. And so he did all the work, and we stayed here, and we've been here. Since 2009, we've been here. I think I got one more picture. I got one more picture? Yeah, that's a hard. You can't see what's in my hand. I asked my brother, the first Sunday of our church, I preached on the disciples, and I preached on a message about the disciples have been preaching all night long. Fishing all night long. And they had not caught any fish. Anybody know that story in the Bible? And then Jesus shows up and he says, now go back out and go fishing. He said, but we haven't caught anything. He says, no, I want you to fish on the other side. And so my message that morning was, I've been fishing in this town for a long time, but now God's asked me to fish in a different way. He's asked me to do something different. I was a youth pastor for 16 years in this area. He says, now he's asking me to be a pastor, and I didn't know a thing about it, pastoring. If you'll go on my Facebook, you'll see the first day of our church, and then you'll see me, and you'll notice I've gained 40 pounds. I've lost hair. I separated a shoulder. I mean, my God. That had nothing to do with preaching, did it? And somebody said, one of my friends called me and said, is that what preaching pastor will do to you? I said, I guess so. That and just general life. But I'd asked my brother, I said, Jason, you got a net? I won't throw this thing because Donnie, he'll never get it back right. I said, you got a net? Because my first Sunday at, I was the youth pastor at Union Road Church of God for years. And my pastor, Robert Frazier, I love old Robert Frazier. I give him a lot of credit for who I am today because he pretty much set me loose and said, just be who you are. And I said, well, they won't get it, but I'll do it. And I remember after preaching for him the very first time, and I had the place rolling. Son, it was like stand-up comedian time. Donnie told me one time, he said, man, if this preaching thing don't work out, you really should go into stand-up comedy. April's asked me a couple times, it pays better, I think, but anyway. But he said, do you plan those jokes? I said, you can't plan them, they won't be funny. He said, okay. He said, well, just keep doing what you're doing, man. So he did, and I did. But he said, whatever you do not cast your net too wide. Because if you don't fill the net, you'll look stupid. We're going to do this. Throw the big net out. He said, you're going to look dumb. So that day, I was feeling real bold. We planted our church. It was May 18th, 2008. I said, Jason, you got a fish net? Yeah, I'll bring you one, man. I said, I want to cast a net that's going to cover Gaston County. He brought me a skimmer. Can you see it? You can't hardly see it. He brought me the thing that you get the stuff out of the little fish tank out of. I said, Jason, that ain't going to impress nobody. I said, I've come all the way from Gastonia to Gastonia. I lived in Gastonia then. I've come all the way from Gastonia to cast a net today, to cast a vision. And my brother brought me a skimmer. We're going to reach millions of minnows in this little thing. I thought, well, my God. So I said, Donnie, you got a bigger net than do you know how to roll it back up if I mess it up? Okay, I know you do. That was a funny joke. I'm not going to throw it because I'll take 7 of you out of here. We'll have a gay old time at church today. That's not a bad word if y'all don't ever seen the Flintstones. Anyway. I said, man, I want to cast the net out. Man, because God's calling us to catch men and women, to be fishers of men. And so I had the little skimmer, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. So here we are 9 years later. I'm so glad that Donnie didn't bring me a skimmer. Because really, to be honest, we started church, and I remember calling Derek, and I said, what really happened at Union Road, I got fired, really, what happened. I mean, I was youth pastor, and it was going well, and they were having some financial issues, and I went and interviewed for another job, and my pastor didn't like that interview for another job, and he let me go, and I still loved him, and I hated him at the moment, but I loved him anyway, and so he let me go, and really what happened was he kicked me out of the nest. Because, I could have stayed in the youth ministry nest the rest of my life. I'm pretty decent at it still. And he kicked me out of the nest, and, I was like, okay, now let's see if I can fly on my own. And so I called Derek. I said, Derek, I remember I was standing on the courthouse, the old courthouse in Gastonia. I said, Derek, I think we're going to start us a church. He said, okay. What you going to call it? I said, Epic. Well, what does that mean? Because everybody wants to know what it means. Remember that conversation? Everybody's going to want to know, what does that mean? Well, it just means epic. Really, I had been to I've got y'all up here now, so just enjoy. I said, well, I went to this conference, and it said, a church that wants to reach this generation should be an epic church. It should be a place where you can experience God. Check. It should be a place where you can participate in the life of the church. Check. It should be a place that impacts. Actually, they said it should be image-driven. Forget about that. We got that one. Image-driven. We're the T-shirt church, buddy. Every year we'll print them. But I changed that to a church that should impact the community, that should impact the lives of those people around. And check. And a church that should connect with each other and with Christ. Connect people to Christ. And so our mission statement became, Epic Church exists to connect people to Christ and connect people to each other, connect people to others in the pursuit of Christ. So we did that, and so we started at Joyful Noise Christian Bookstore. The fire marshal and the building inspector shut us down after 1 week. We got a noise permit and had it in the parking lot the second week. The third week we moved to Greer Middle School and had church in the auditorium. We're like, this is awesome, and didn't realize that nobody could hear anything we were saying because it was just bouncing off the concrete walls and the concrete floor and just moving around. And it was like 30 people in that big old auditorium. Could you imagine? It was so discouraging. We stayed there 6 weeks, and then we moved to 322 West Main. We stayed there a year, and then we moved to, in 2009 of August, we stumbled on this little deal over here. Never left breadcrumbs anywhere, never left Where's Waldo pictures or anything, just kept moving, and came over here doing church the best way we knew how, loving God and loving everybody else that we knew in the community, looking for a place centrally located in the city, looking for a place that, somebody said, where do you want to move? I said, well, let's find me a warehouse close to I-85, close to Franklin Square or Eastridge Mall. And they found us this, and I said, hey, this will work. And I thought it was an accident. And then we went to Freedom Fest, and I said, hey, we're here for a reason. They know Miss Collins, and they know Mr. Fred, and they know Miss Baxter, and they was so good. And I quickly found out it wasn't an accident we were here. We were here because God put us here. We were here because God planted us here. And we've been in council meeting after council meeting talking about moving, and people say, and then Jason Rhodes will say, well, are we here for a reason? Or are we here just because we got a building? And I've tried to say we're just here because but I think we're here because God put us here. We're here because God put us here. I think we're here because we're right off 85, and I think people are looking for an exit on life. I think people that life gets complicated, and I think people are disturbed on what's going on in this road of life, and they're looking for an escape. And wow, exit 22 offers it right there. I think people are dark and they're lost and they're looking for a light, and here we are, a lighthouse sitting right off 85, just staring at people and saying, here we are. I think people are looking for something. I think they're looking and seeing, and here we are, a city on a hill that can't be hid. We're right here. So I think God put us here for a reason, and we're here for a purpose. And 1 Corinthians 13:3 says that faith, hope, and love are the greatest. But the greatest of these is love. The greatest of these is love. And so someone finally came back to Jesus and said, hey, well, hold up a minute. What's the greatest commandment? Because there's all kinds of commandments. What's the greatest? And then he said, well, the greatest commandment is you love God with all of your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And then the second one is just like it. Love others just as you would yourself. So faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Love God and love others. And all the law and all the prophets hang on these. And everyone I meet, even to this day, not just at Freedom Fest, but at Walmart, at work, in the schools, they don't want to know what I know. They want to know that I care. They don't want to hear about the law, and they don't want to hear about the prophets. They just want to hear about the love of Jesus. They don't necessarily came out and say it that way, but that's what they're asking about. Chad, here's my situation. Here's what I'm going through. What's going to help it? What's the love of Jesus? Every answer I come to comes right back to the love of Jesus. The multitude of sins, that covers them all. It's the love of Jesus. Covers it all. The love of Jesus, it never fails. The love speaks clear. It's a sound that is so crystal clear. It's not like the noise around us. Love that never fails when everything else around us does. A love that kicks in the door to someone's heart easily and just abruptly. Love changes lives. Love changes communities. Love that's when it's in the house is packed full of it. You can feel it. You can feel love, right? You can feel the real thing, the genuine love of Christ. The unstoppable love of God draws people. It's very attractive. It doesn't push people away. You know when someone loves you, you want to be around that person. The opposite of that is they push you away. The love of Jesus pulls you in. The unstoppable love of Jesus is there in the middle of that restless night. Anybody ever had one of those? That unstoppable love of Jesus, He's still there. It's there to forgive you when no one else will. It's there to heal you when the doctor says there is no cure. The love of Jesus is there to comfort you when nothing else can. The love of Jesus is there to be patient with you, despite you. Thank you, Jesus. The love of Jesus notices you when no one else does. The love of Jesus, it believes in your future, and it points you in that direction and away from your past. When everyone else says, well, you can't go there because you did that. You can't do this because you were there and you did. Everyone else in your life points you to your past, but the love of Jesus just points you forward, right? He says, you can go there, you can do that. It's crystal clear. It's a crystal clear sound when the world's just full of noise. I told Aaron last night, I was talking to him, I said, you know how to spell love? Y'all know how to spell love? How do you spell it? Come on, it's not a trick question. How do you spell love? Josh, hop up here, brother. Come on. They need help. They need a billboard. I'll get the biggest one I've got. Oh, God, I'm cramping up. Now let's see if you got it right. How do you spell love? Oh, my, you messed it. You wrote it wrong. Love is best spelled J-E-S-U-S. Love is best spelled with J-E-S-U-S. New Edition don't know about that. Chicago 17 don't know about that. Journey don't. Here I am. They don't know nothing about it. The love is best spelled with J-E-S-U-S. It's a love that Richard Marsh is not writing about. It's a love that Brian Adams is not writing about. At least I don't think they are. When you accept that fact, that the greatest love ever was a love that laid down his life for you, you're where you need to be. And you begin to lay down your life for other people, the love of Jesus becomes very unstoppable. Unstoppable. I would say there are two people here today. There's more than two people here, I know that. There are two types of people here today. There's a person here today that needs to know the love of Jesus. There's a person here today that needs to experience the love of Jesus, because the love that you're experiencing is nothing like we just read about. It's not patient, it's not kind, it's nothing like this. Like, are you kidding me? It's conditional. I don't love you anymore because you didn't do this. I don't love you more because you won't do that. I don't love you because. But Jesus, I love you despite all of that. So there's somebody here today that you need to experience the love of Jesus. But there's some other people here today that you need to share the love of Jesus. So you're either one of two people. You need to experience it or you should be sharing it. I've spent the last 2 or 3 weeks talking about it, right? Sharing the love of Christ. If we won't, who will? So I want to ask you today, if you'll stand with me. I want you to close your eyes. And here's what I want to do. I'm going to pray. I want to pray. And while I'm praying, I want you to pray. I want you to search your heart. I want you to take an inventory and say, you know what? I've not experienced the love of Christ. I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe that's you today, and that's okay. Guess what? I was there. You were there. Everyone here was there. Everyone in this room was lost and had been found. Everyone here was dead and now is alive again. Everyone, all, A-L-L, all have sinned and fell short of God's glory. So maybe you're here and you're one of those people who fell short and you need to experience his love again, or maybe even for the first time. If that's you, I'm going to give you an opportunity to experience that love.